Good evening, folks. We're gonna do a show tonight. We're gonna do a show. Okay, hello, and I am trying to make sure I got this going. This this is our new stuff. Um, Welcome to the show. Welcome to night two. Hopefully, this is looking right for you. I'm gonna get myself some playback going somewhere so I can see what's going on. Uh, we're gonna go down the list. This is episode 3, 1 a.m. I probably should at some point. You know what? I need to take a quick little break. Just realize something. Enjoy the slideshow from our main topic of the evening. I will be with you in just one moment. Ooh, watch out, watch out, watch out. Okay, making all this noise, taking intermissions and whatnot. All right, I am back. We are back. That's a picture of the exile. Probably can't even see it. Good. That's terrible. All right, let's so we can get a little organized here. Want to see some okay. We live. Are we live? Okay, cool. All right. Oh, audio. Didn't really do that. Okay. So at least you know the audio is working. That's good to know. That's good to know. Hello, 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 hello. Welcome to another rough start for your boy. We're going to talk about that. Look, I will not apologize for my show, though I am sorry it was bad last night. Um, Oops. I'm sorry. Sorry it didn't go my way. It was a show. I feel like last night was an accomplishment because we got over the finish line and we got here. We turned on the stream and we talked, and that was the goal. We're kind of making sure we're getting it. We're trying to make sure. So I overslept last night. I woke up at 1 o'clock for my 1 o'clock show. And it showed, of course. This is our first week starting out, and I am trying to make this time slot work. But the truth is, I got a full-time job, and it's kind of tough, man. Like 1 o'clock to 3, it's not overnight, but it's tough. Like I got a little nap in there, and what I don't want to do is make a daily video and end up spending so much time editing the video. Like doing it this way, as rough as it is, gets the content out there, and then also I'm finished. Like the reason I want to do this show, and I'm gonna show you tonight why I'm doing this as opposed to making videos, is because I spent hours and hours and hours and hours to make a 3 minute video that wasn't even all that good. And all them hours, I could have just been talking about whatever topic it was I was doing all the editing for, just to come up with a video I was disappointed in. I might as well have just talked while I was doing all the editing. So, I mean, you know what I mean? So this is kind of like that meet you in the middle kind of situation where I would like to make like a nice little video. But for the time it takes to do all that, I could just do this and be done with it. And so that video I made was like last Thursday, last Friday, or whatever. Like, nah, fuck that, son. So instead, I'm just gonna go straight like on my ham radio. You know, I got an intro to the show. Now I'm really struggling with my audio. I really am. I'm having a hard time. You know, I'll stop doing this and I have to like restart my computer and get everything reconfigured to just do anything else, and it's a pain in the ass. I am terrible with all this audio stuff, so I am desperately trying to figure out a way to get my settings to where I'm good to go. But it took 10 minutes to get Streamlabs to recognize what microphone I want to use, and it's just ridiculous. Because I don't like having the headset on. You know, I got tinnitus as it is, so the headset on is just awful. And then I don't like the mic, you know. And I would rather use what I'm using now if it picks up. But I mean, truth be told, I probably need either some egg cartons or something. I don't know, but I'm not quite there yet. So let's see here. I got the notes up here. So yeah, the show will be bad again, and I'll be sorry again. And we're just gonna keep working on doing a bad show until I get it figured out. Like right now, I can't figure out where this is coming from. Okay, so screen capture. All right, now next time that pops up, I might be able to adjust it so you can see her better. That was the Jedi Exile. I'm gonna get to all that in a second. Actually, what we're gonna do is we're gonna pause this slideshow, and we're going to get set up for a quick recap. Oops. Of today's events, but the last couple of days have been like straight wild in terms of like what happened today. And I am not set up to be like a news show, and my biggest concern is like misrepresenting something in a way that it's like deeply irresponsible out of a overwhelming desire to be brief. So like, gotta be careful there. But for this one, we are going to talk about this because that was today's event. Not today's event, but that happened today. So we're gonna cover the top half of the show. What happened today? You know, quick note. I don't think I have a correction from last episode. I probably should, but I don't. I will say that there was a lot of information that came out about John Amos after yesterday that is like wild. And I think that at this point, the most responsible thing for me to do would be to share any content I come across that I think would help. That's the only thing I can think to do, because that was, are you kidding? Like, apparently he didn't pass away yesterday. He may have passed away up to 45 days ago. And again, I'm not a news source. I think it'd be best if I just found more information and maybe provided it tomorrow. It might be better. And also like I mentioned, the format of the show is just not conducive to someone who just turned 46, who has a full-time day job, trying to then turn around and spend 3 hours a night doing this. I don't want to pre-record the show because that day job makes it hard to find time every single day to record and then edit and then produce and then have it release at 1 o'clock. The idea of that seems cool, but as a one man operation, that's still like more work than just taking a nap at 11 o'clock, waking up groggy and trying to remember what you were doing and why am I awake again? So for the time being. So yeah, that's what we're gonna do. Okay, let's see here. One of these devices, I gotta get some WD-40 for this chair. This is an unprofessional chair. Unprofessional chair. It's just deeply unprofessional. I am going to quickly. I gotta find. Oh, that's right. I turned my Instagram back on. Last year at some point, I posted to Instagram a joke about we should all focus our attention on houseflies, and that got me like a warning from Instagram, and they took down the post because it was like a call of violence against houseflies. I cannot stress this enough. Instagram was like, bro, chill with the fly threats, and I'm like, all right, I'm out. And so I didn't get too drastic because, I mean, you really can't, since Threads is owned and Meta is behind it all of it, you can't get too drastic. But basically, like I was like, this is some trash, this is work here. This is terrible work. What am I doing here? Let me have I need a thumbnail to put that in there like that, and then we're done. And then we're gonna put in that link. There it is. The link to the YouTube channel, and then we're gonna there we go. Post. So we just posted that the show's on. Like that matters. Okay. Couldn't post. This is some new Viva La Dirt League videos. I'll talk about those guys too. Okay, but I am right now. I am procrastinating, I guess. We're gonna get to it. I would love to have more audio and stuff, but I don't know. So what happened today? Agatha All Along happened, and this is episode, I want to say 4, because part of me feels like maybe, just maybe, we watched the first 2 on the first night. Trying to see. It doesn't matter. The most recent episode came on at 8 o'clock, and it is really, really good. I'm a big fan of the show. I thought that WandaVision was some serious, like, next level storytelling. I feel like it is so easy to decide, well, it's the MCU, it's comic book movies, it's this, it's that, and the third. And it's so easy to decide that what it can't be. And so many times, like, that just sets us up to get some really cool stuff, because everyone is kind of constantly telling us what they can't do. I did have some takeaways, and I don't want to get too deep into it, but okay. So one of my takeaways is that the show looks good. It really looks good. I love how it's shot. I love the first episode when it opens up with the Mayor of Easttown parody. Like, I felt like it was kind of a misdirect, because it was very much in keeping with WandaVision. Like, this was WandaVision season 2's opening, and then they didn't. I felt like they announced they were doing away with it. That they were kind of making it clear that that was the last remnants of Wanda's magic, and that's why the show opens up like that. And I think one of my favorite reviewers, I think Screen Crush, points out that could have literally signaled like when Wanda died on Wundagore, which is one of those things where that totally could be and could not be. It's just like kind of a nice little touch. But with that being said, another thing that felt kind of odd to me was, once the show gets going, it's like they kind of go back inside, and I don't want to like just direct quote my notes, but basically it gave it a mid-pandemic kind of feeling, like they shot that show while being in the bubble. Um, Big fan of Star Trek Discovery, big fan of like a lot of the Disney Plus stuff, and when everyone had to become careful for health reasons, and they went in behind all those restrictions, a lot of new technologies were introduced, uh, largely out of necessity, and for better or worse, you could see it in the production. And I feel like there were some films that kind of suffered more than others for definitely being outside stories that it was clear to all parties involved they couldn't really be outside. I think Thor Love and Thunder really got hurt by having to do so much of that stuff inside. Um, uh, and then the the tone of criticism for everything is so politicized and just like idiotic that you don't. It's like unforgiving. We're in the middle of an international pandemic. It's like the worst shit ever. And you got somebody on YouTube living in pick sticks and cap guns talking shit for what? It don't make no sense, you know. The stakes are way too high for half of the people talking about going to the movies. With that being said, I would have assumed that at this point, while since they don't have to go inside, that maybe they wouldn't have wanted to. And while they use the premise and the Witch's Road and all that stuff to like maximum effect, it does feel like a choice to, despite not having to film inside, to film inside anyway. And I will be curious to find out after the series is over if there was a decision for some reason that isn't clear to film like kind of sequestered. Like when you watch the show, the first episode they're out and about, even though they're in Westview, they're outside. They're definitely out in a creek someplace filming on location. They're in a library scene, like they're definitely outside. And then once you get to the show, it's like we're in a soundstage for real. Like even our outside, it's inside. The Witch's Road is. It feels like they didn't shoot it at night someplace. They're shooting in a soundstage, and it just kind of gives this kind of claustrophobic kind of feel that reminded me of the pandemic. Like when they say cut, everybody's masked up and everything is like, you know what I mean? And maybe those protocols might still be in place for some reason, but that sort of surprised me a little bit. That was something you just would imagine that all parties involved would be itching to not do that. But it doesn't look like they had it doesn't look like a compromise. Like I thought Star Trek Discovery really did a good job with some of the special effects to deal with being secluded, but you could see it. You could just see that they were inside and they weren't going to be able to go outside. So yeah, that's a risk that I'm curious to know, like, if there was something to that. If maybe, just maybe, they did start this shooting earlier than we thought, but that doesn't seem to make any sense. I'm a SNL like super fan. I guess I'm gonna go out and just say that, but Zashir Zameda, I had to tell my woman, I'm like, baby, what is going on? Damn. All right, and that's all I'm gonna say because that's silly and sophomoric. Let's see here. Okay, the other thing about the show that I really, really love is former huge Marvel Comics reader. Marvel and DC love them both. Like, really love Marvel. Read a lot of Marvel comics. So the lore building, the world building, the things of the story that make it special and unique to itself, and not just a rehash of expected lore from the comics. This is stuff like what they're doing on this show are the anecdotes and the asides and the knowing glances for movies and movies in years to come in terms of what happens to certain kinds of people on a day-to-day basis. Like, this is the lives of magic folk in this fantastical world where we get to go and see all kinds of lives of all kinds of folk. And so I love this aspect of it, because this is when you start to meet magical characters in future projects, it's a different kind of understanding, because this story is going to lay a lot of ground rules and stuff for how magic works, and especially if some of the theories about some of the characters tend to pan out. My favorite moment in this episode, because I don't want to spoil it. I mean, it's on Disney Plus now. You should totally see it. Don't take my word for it. Don't take anyone's word for it. Just treat yourself and check it out if you can. It's a really good show. If you like the MCU, you'll like this. That's as far as I'll go. There's a scene when they handle action differently. This isn't the Scooby Gang of witch fighters where every episode they're gonna all of a sudden Power Ranger that shit together and fight somebody. There's plenty of action and conflict and drama and interesting things going on. The show is never boring, but you are not waiting for even the obligatory Buffy fight scene. You know what I mean? Like, you are just kind of enjoying the show, and you may not notice that there's not the obligatory, okay, there's 10 minutes left, someone has to get fucking knocked the fuck out. Like, it doesn't necessarily do that. And then it delivers on, like, special effects, like conflict that you kind of expect. And in that, you get a target for the characters to focus on, whereas a lot of it is the universe, bucking back at them, which is a good way to describe it. What they're asking for a boon from the universe, from an unseen force, and so that unseen force is constantly representing itself, and so you don't necessarily, at this point in the story, have a traditional villain in their path to stop them from getting their goal. It seems like the goal itself is a monkey's paw of sort, and so that's what you're kind of dealing with. In that, each character has their own personal struggles and sometimes literal demons. And one of our characters, who I'm looking for in the images, let's go with this one here, and we're gonna see if we can move this bad boy over. Where I'm here, this lady here, who I should probably better picture. Okay, so her character, her arc is she's looking for family to sort of reconnect. Again, I don't want to spoil anything. That's not my place. She has, to me, the best line in the episode. It's if I can see it, I can kill it. And she then killed something with rock. And I just felt like she made the Master Chief and Tenacious D proud in one line. It was dope. The episode had a really great climactic conclusion. I mean, it's really well acted. It's an all-star cast, and look at Mrs. Amanda. Look, caked up, ridiculous, redonkulous, man. Okay, okay. And so I do have one theory, like, because theories in comic book movies and stuff like that. I got one. Okay. There is a young man in the show. You'll see him here. My face is maybe covering it, but that dude right just below me right here, like, that young man is in the show. He's an excellent young man, actor. There's another picture of him here that's a good picture. Okay, so the big mystery on the show is, who is that dude? If you watch WandaVision, the leading theory is he is one of Wanda's sons that she created during the course of WandaVision. In the comics, the story of Wanda's kids, man, it's stretched over some time. It's not handled by one writer in one story. It goes. Wiccan and Speed, their introduction into the story is some like 25 years after their introduction as babies. Like, it takes a minute to get them on the screen. And I honestly feel like one of the things that MCU does is it does a lot of recognition of, like, original storylines, and then it takes a what if treatment that, I don't know, like, no one ever points out. A lot of the MCU storylines feel like what ifs from their comic book counterparts because of the slight alterations. And then the fun of it is what that does to the universe, you know? So there were two options as to who this young man could be. At least two major theories. The first theory was, of course, one of Wanda's sons, the magic one. And then the other theory is that he's Nicholas Scratch, Agatha's son. And then I heard a really wild theory. Again, I think that was Screen Crushed. Is that essentially uh, she's both, and he's both, and like that one is really neat. And I feel like as I figure out what I'm allowed to share of other people's content and all that kind of stuff, maybe I can just play that. I can cue it up and just play it because it'd be hard to paraphrase. Wait, I'm counting. I have at least two viewers. Hello, two viewers. If you leave a comment, I'll appreciate it. That I can see if my comment thing is working. I think it's working, but it may not be working. Yeah, we'll see. Let's see. Is it back there? Okay. What do I like this? We'll do this. So yeah, maybe say hello. Maybe not. It's okay if you don't. But welcome to the show. Hopefully you'll hang out for a little bit, and you know we're doing this thing here. Okay. So where was I? Okay. So he might be like an amalgamation of these two young characters. And then there was also the idea of him being like a Nexus being or some kind of equivalent. And the idea of that was that even though technically Wanda conjured her kids in that one reality, like because across the multiverse those kids exist, like they're supposed to be there. I think that it's a great theory that might end up having some play, but it may not come up like as smooth as the theory is explained. It might be a bit more messy and entangled because that would make it easier for the actors to do their thing, I guess. But I'm in the camp after this episode that he is in fact Agatha's son, and that the information she gets at the end of the episode is kind of like a misdirect that indicates who Aubrey Plaza's character is, because a really good theory is that she is straight up death. Okay, so I think I can share one thing about the show that wouldn't spoil it necessarily, that like is what got me thinking about also about like the MCU and their approach to converting these stories in general. Okay, one thing that I always was kind of like not disappointed by but curious about was that the Infinity Gauntlet comic book story, right, is this big event that I think is broken up into like three major stories: Infinity Gauntlet, Infinity Crusade, and then Infinity War. And the central character for all those books is the student Adam Warlock, who is kind of introduced as a throwaway character in Guardians of the Galaxy 3. But essentially all of his story, everything about his character is sort of hinted at in the MCU in these weird ways. Like in Avengers Age of Ultron, the creation of Vision is very, very similar to the creation of Adam Warlock. The Guardians of the Galaxy story is based on a comic book story that heavily features Adam Warlock. And the whole concept of Guardians of the Galaxy is an evolution of Infinity Watch, which is a story that is deeply connected to Infinity Gauntlet. That it's like you've used so many parts from that story to do other things, you can't really go back and do Gauntlet again or Infinity Watch, which is perfectly fine because it's like I never wanted to go to the movies to see the comic books I read made like verbatim anyway. So the MCU was way better than I could have ever expected to have anything go down like that as far as what I'm reading as a kid growing up to seeing things in the theaters. I'm glad for not having the one for one. because it also creates some interesting opportunities. Okay, the other part of the Infinity Gauntlet is the motivation for Thanos is way different. In the books, him and Lady Death are involved, and he agrees to destroy half all life in the universe because Lady Death asked him to. She asked him to do that because she felt at that time that more people were alive than had ever died, or some weird way of looking at it. And she was like, "I need you to fix that." And so he said, "I will do so." And he looked into this thing called the Well of Souls. The Well of Souls told him about the Infinity Gauntlet, and he got the Infinity Gems together in order to carry out her goal. But Thanos was also a deeply flawed person, and when he got the opportunity to wield the gauntlet, it's like he forgot that he did it to do something for Death. So he gets the gauntlet. Death is like, "Oh, heck no, you're so powerful now. This is not what I bargained for." Her rejection of Thanos is what prompts the Infinity Gauntlet, more or less. Everything that happens after, all the awful things that happen to the heroes in the universe is because Thanos can't get next to Death. The MCU goes a different way, makes total and perfect sense. Well, I mean, that's not fair to say. They go a different way because that's what they decide to do, and they really make it work. But you also now have these players and pieces that the audience will be familiar with in certain ways that you did not use at all. So that got me to thinking about what we've seen in the first few episodes of Agatha All Along, and what that could mean for lack of a better term, like stuff that was left on the cutting room floor of the transition from the MCU comic books to the MCU films, which is a relationship with Death, and a deal with Death, and an object of incredible power. So what if Agatha All Along is a take on the Infinity Gauntlet story, where Agatha is Thanos, she's in love with Death, and in order to carry out whatever Death asks her to do, she gets the Darkhold. And then Death is like, "That's not what we agreed upon." Nah, because when she first shows up in the first episode, her beef with Agatha is she's been hiding behind the Darkhold and its power to protect herself for X amount of time. And Death, or Aubrey Plaza's character, also feels like she feels kind of bad about something in the past. So I just feel like there could be something to that, where the Darkhold is a proxy for this ultimate power that was used to double cross a cosmic being. And that would be kind of cool to take that play. Because like, when you decide to depart that much from the core source material, you're making a choice that potentially could rub some feathers the wrong way. And I think the MCU like made the right choice, but it was a risk. They could have blew up in their faces, departing so like directly from their source material. So yeah, that's my little theory about Agatha All Along and what I think the show might do going forward. And like, I'm still trying to figure out what my show is going to be. And I know I don't want to just go on and just kind of like running behind and retread what a bunch of content creators are saying. But maybe, I don't know. But that's it. That's my take on Agatha All Along so far. It's great so far. I don't know where it'll go. I'm kind of wondering if the resolution, or it'll all boil down to Agatha Harkness being a mentor or for like the Young Avengers. We'll see. There's a reference to another superhero group of ladies that might come up later, so we'll have to see about that too. And again, I mean, I don't know if I want to have like official reviews or stuff like that, because that kind of I don't know. I'm trying to figure out what each episode of my show is going to be, and I want it to be something I'm interested in doing, knowing I'm going to do it every night. And I don't know how much I feel about like reviewing stuff. Let's see here. One last thing on new business is, did Spirit Halloween really come from my show? Like apparently this happened. After the Spirit Halloween sketch, which, okay, a couple of things about the Spirit Halloween sketch. That was not the first Spirit Halloween sketch that SNL has done. And also, that is not the first like fake commercial SNL has done. So I have Reddit open, and I'm not. This is my Reddit, but I am not a member of SNL's Reddit. I see it says join. Me and Reddit. I Reddit is what it is. But the thing about, so this is their comeback joke. This is on social media. After they saw the episode, someone who handles Spirit's Twitter account made this, the irrelevant 50-year-old TV show. My favorite part of this is where it says it includes dated references. Are you the dated reference, Spirit Halloween? I mean, because that's what I keep thinking. Like, you're the dated reference. I mean, but again, like, I feel like irrelevant is a weird punch back, because you literally are able to post things on social media because someone mentioned you. So your clap back immediately establishes their relevance. It's like a leave the comedy to professionals is what I tell myself all the time, and I don't listen. So I feel comfortable telling the Spirit Halloween Twitter person to leave the comedy to the professionals, because I feel like irrelevant is what. Because if you go into this post, I'm not, but there are people who are upset about apparently the shots fired, the nature of the shots fired at you, you know. And I just like, okay, I mean, whatever. Spirit Halloween, like, first off, where is the lie? When you watch the sketch, where's the lie? That's pretty much what it's like to go into a Spirit Halloween. It's if the store could be called "We Won't Be Here for Long," hurry up, it would fit. I mean, it is a Spirit Halloween store, and you are literally walking past or driving past an empty lot, and next thing you know, there's a business there that will be gone in 2 weeks. So let's not do that. You know, let's not do that. Okay, so we're gonna do a segment here that I'm gonna try out because it's gonna be my content. So, as I mentioned, the reason this show, the I Don't Know show, which is based on the very basic philosophy, is that I don't know is the beginning, that's the end. I don't know the answers to all our questions, and now it's not the time. Now it's the time to relax, and we're gonna talk about some bullshit and then go to sleep. And so we're moving into this section I want to call the video review section, because this is the video I made the other night. Let me see. Let's go back to, where am I? Okay, I'm on. Oh, let's go here. We're going to turn off the screen. There we go. Because I want to work over here real quick. Okay, now, excuse me, gosh. Now that we don't have that screen on anymore, I need to go here and then go here, and we're going to queue up this video. It's not very long. And I'm going to hopefully, videos. Where are you, video? It's 3 minutes and 48 seconds. It is called Dragon Age the Veilguard. Fans need a sanity check. And, well, let's see. The reason I made the video was because the game that I've been waiting for excuse me, gosh, my throat, for 10 years now is fast approaching. I mean, we're almost here, baby, you know? And because of that, I've been like cranking up all this internet stuff. I want to do a live stream. I want to raise money for charity while I play this game, like my last gaming hurrah. You know, that's what it feels like. Because while I have been playing a few newer games, I can already tell most of these games that are coming out, like I just don't really have the wherewithal. And I definitely don't want to start like reviewing games. You got to kind of be good at them, I feel like, on a certain level to start like critiquing, to be honestly critiquing. I would love to talk about like things that would strengthen the community and as consumers, so you get better products and merchandise. But I'm not gonna be able to tell you what's good and what's bad in video gaming, to be honest. I'm just not. With that being said, this is about the love of a particular game. I hope I'm good enough at the game to play it like without adjusting too many things, but heck, I might not be. Games are hard for me. I don't play enough. I'm not dope enough. But that's neither here nor there. I should be dope enough to make some damn videos, and I'm not. My videos are terrible. My YouTube videos are just the worst. So we're gonna look at one, and I'm gonna try and explain what I'm failing to explain in this video. Like I'm gonna try. So here we go. We're gonna go back to. We're gonna go back to it. So this is my 3-minute and 47-minute video, or 47-second video I made the other night. Now I made this video with the help of ChatGPT and a bunch of other stuff, and it was just a whole mess. But I sat up for hours editing hours of footage down to 3 minutes and 47 seconds from like 2 hours of footage. Just 3 good minutes of it. And as you're gonna see, it is 3 good minutes of hot mess. So I'm gonna try my best to explain what I'm trying to explain in this video so poorly. Bear with me. Hopefully the audio works because I'm so bad at this. Let's see. Hello there. I'm some dude who keeps milling about in the parking lot of Discord selling bootleg tie-dye t-shirts of... Okay, let's talk about the parking lot of Discord, some bootleg tie-dye t-shirts of Mass Effect Andromeda and Dragon Age 2. Okay, so first thing is I wrote script for this. And what I probably should have done is like just recorded all that copy and had the audio on a file someplace, and then figured out how to run, like when I was talking for the camera, something like that, like edit it better to where, like, I don't know, like I feel like I'm reading my script for the first time, and I'm not set up like cue cards, so where I'm like facing the camera and reading my copy. My copy is like off, and yeah. So the joke is I'm saying that I'm this man sitting out in the parking lot of Discord. Discord is not a real place. It's not a physical location. I mean, it's probably a real place where people work, but it's not a physical location you can go to. Discord is a chat service. So, like, that joke is gone because you can't even hear me say Discord, and ChatGPT didn't know how to represent the parking lot of Discord as a concept. I think that this is a parking lot of Discord, which means fuck all. So here we go. Dragon Age 2 and Mass Effect Andromeda characters, and judging from what I'm seeing and hearing, I'm needed momentarily. Everything that pops up here is either from one program or it is from ChatGPT. Apologies, but yes, it appears that folks need a quick sanity check. These images were made with ChatGPT, and oh man, just you wait. I get it, I do. I'm losing my mind waiting to get back to Thetis. Plus, everyone and their mom is suddenly hopping on and trying to get some page views. Okay, I'm trying to tell a joke here. It's not landing. Irony to really sink in. But in my defense, I'm looking to raise money for charity.
That's true.
More on that to come. Please like and subscribe.
Terrible.
But I digress. Apparently,
This is ChatGPT.
some of you have grown concerns surrounding some of the latest updates concerning the Veilguard, and I'm going to try once more, hopefully with more clarity, to ease your mind and hopefully make you feel better with some weird AI images. So
Weird,
guys,
true.
let's talk about this.
And the thing about
What
the AI
is
images
classic
is
Dragon
they
Age
don't help me
when it
tell
really
my
comes
story
down
or
to
make my argument at all.
Seriously, folks, we all know the story of Dragon Age 2, but are we sure we're not letting player knowledge fudge our character knowledge? Consider that Dragon Age 2 does in fact continue the core story of the Blight. After all, it's Bartram and Varric who were the ones.
Okay, so what am I trying to say?
Okay, what I'm trying to say is that everyone is so up in arms about what Dragon Age is that they're concerned that this new game isn't going to capture that properly. And my response to that is, are you sure that Dragon Age is this definitive thing that is so easily defined that you know what it ain't? You know what I mean? The first Dragon Age game was not open world, it was linear or whatever. However, it was also still very much grounded in the concept of Knights of the Old Republic. In Knights of the Old Republic, you have a star map, and you can go to like 6 locations that are planets. And then once you get to the location, you can do things at that location. And those locations are on maps. While that may not be considered open world, that's the deal. They're maps. You can go to these spots on the map, structured out to various sizes. Some of those maps are more open than other, but it is a map, right? Dragon Age Origins is the exact same format. Instead of being in space, however, you're on a 2D map of a country, but there's still a set fixed number of points you can choose to go to, and that point is a map upon which you can go and accomplish stuff on that map. Orzammar being the largest, I believe, of those maps. Not open world necessarily, just a collection of short maps you can continually go to. And even though the maps have an entry point here and an exit point here, and you can go through all the different paths, it's still not linear because you might have to go to one point on the map for an objective for that particular time, and then go to another point someplace else, and then go back to a central hub. So you're kind of going back into these maps to accomplish goals. By saying that Inquisition somehow violates this with an open world format isn't sincere, because you never lost your maps. You never lost those missions that were identical to the initial Origins missions. You just had open areas on top of that. Now, if you want to complain that there weren't enough map areas from traditional games, that's fine. But you can't say that that gameplay experience has been omitted, because it's just not true. You know, so when you're playing Inquisition, you have, if you're going to say that Origins is your classic experience, then the moment you go into the Dwarven ruins on the Hinterlands map, that's classic Dragon Age. That's what it looks like. That's what the map looks like. That's how that works. It's not very big, but that's what that is. As soon as you do Within Hush Whispers, or you do Champions of the Just, or whatever it is, like, basically in Dragon Age Origins, the point is to recruit another group or groups for your cause. Inquisition, you're recruiting groups for your cause. And those recruitment missions are classic Dragon Age missions. When you go to Theronfall Redoubt, that is literally what it's like to play Origins in terms of how the mission progresses. You open up the door, you go down the path to the other end. I mean, you can't get any more classic Dragon Age than the missions that are like moving the story forward. Adamant Fortress, Halam Sharal, you name it. When it comes down to this is the next chapter in the game, it is very much classic Dragon Age with no filters. Especially like when you consider someone who I have a lot of respect for, but they have a take on gameplay that I just don't agree with. They said that Dragon Age 2 was a more action oriented game. A lot of people will say things like that and then immediately tell you that they played a mage. And the thing about the mage class in Dragon Age is ranged combat is vastly different than melee combat. And if you don't engage in melee combat, you don't have a clear understanding of it, of the action aspect of the game. If you play as a warrior and someone says that Dragon Age 2 is an action game, it's gonna piss you off because as a warrior, you're gonna constantly hear the same thing. I need to get closer. I'm not close enough. I can't attack. It's because, despite what they say, Dragon Age 2's combat engine is very much like Dragon Age 1, where it's point and click. You aim at your enemy, and then your character does their thing. And in order for the character's attack animations to trigger, he has to be within range. That is not an action game. That is not an immediate one-to-one action game experience. You're still pointing and clicking. You're still playing Dragon Age 1. It just looks nicer. They made the combat look more streamlined, but it didn't actually change the nature of the combat when it came to the control scheme of your character. You are playing Origin still when you play Dragon Age 2. Your warrior character is not under your direct control, and if you play Inquisition, you're still not necessarily on a one-to-one because the Frostbite engine was made for first-person shooters, and so when you go to attack with your melee weapon, you're pulling right trigger on Inquisition and beginning an animation sequence. But you don't have a light attack, heavy attack, block situation like you would in an action game, even in Inquisition. So, like, I respect the opinions, but when you watch their videos, they will tell you two things off the rip. They don't love the combat, and they're playing as a mage. Hell, I love playing as a mage too, but that is a misrepresentation of the game's combat functions if you play as a mage and you're trying to talk to someone who knows you're going to pick up a sword and shield. Your take on the game for them as a sword and shield player is not what they're going to experience. Dragon Age 2 is not an action game in the same regard that an actual, like, Devil May Cry or Skyrim even, like, action is action. Dragon Age 2 does it okay, but you'd rather pick up a bow and arrow or a crossbow or use a ranged weapon because it is a game that lends itself more to using ranged attacks. I'm just not gonna lie to you. You get frustrated real fast playing a warrior in Dragon Age 2 because you get sick and tired of hearing, I need to get closer. Help me get over there. It's like, okay, you know. So yeah, that idea, that concept, to me, to properly convey requires footage that I just don't have. Like, I looked for Dragon Age 2 footage, and it was like, it's just a lot of editing. And while I know how to do it, it's responsible for finding Valyrium, right? That can't get more core to the story than the Blight than that. Despite our member berries being in overdrive, Dragon Age has always offered a modified tactical gameplay. Now, this is footage of the first game. Modified gameplay. Now, what is hard to pick up in this footage is your main character has the double circle behind him. To your right is Morgan, to your left is Liliana, and I'm sure that in the distance is like your dog or something like that. This is what I'm trying to argue is even in the first game, despite the fact that it is a turn-based tactical approach to the combat, the camera angle definitely suggests that you want to be in on the action in the most visceral sense. And the camera angle also rewards you in the original game with all kinds of animated finishers and stuff. The thing is, you don't have any real control
camera perspective
over those results, those outcomes.
These are the people who made Jade Empire, and you want to act like they don't do action.
So, like in part
While
2,
Inquisition adds large
that
open
all works
areas,
the same. It just
they
looks
at no
better.
point take away any of the level design from the classic games. They just give you an open area in order to arrive at the classic locations. Consider almost all your major story events take place in a standard linear Dragon Age map. The Descent DLC is essentially the obligatory Ozarmor Deep Roads section of the game, and it is exactly like all the games before it in terms of design, and no one ever.
Okay, the other thing about that is one of the other concerns that that the community is having is that the core game that we're going to get on October 31st seems to be very tightly focused on continuing the ending of Inquisition. And I don't know how serious those concerns are, but right now people are like really kind of like feeling like that this is the other shoe. Like there had to be something that was going to ruin all this, and this is it. And maybe I am too much of a homer. Maybe I am. I think they're calling it copium. I don't know what copium is. I don't want to make those claims. I feel like my dad trying to be cool. But I honestly want people to remember that the parts of the games that spoke to the future, that spoke to continuing the story, were almost exclusively downloadable content. The core game almost never spoke outside of itself. The core game was almost always focused in on itself. So when you play Dragon Age Origins, that core game ends with the defeat of the Archdemon and it's over. We're out. And then you pick up Awakenings and you go to the next little part of it, which gives you the Illuvion, which gives you Morgan's continued story. You're introduced to Anders from part 2, and so on and so forth. But all of that, all of the links to the future, to the sequels of the story, were DLC. If you only play the core game, that shit ends for you, bro. It's over. So then you play part 2, right? At the end of part 2, that shit's over. The hero, the champion in Kirkwall is champion in Kirkwall. And then you get DLC, which introduces you to Corypheus. The Red Lyrium idol is explained more. Like, the DLC comes in and gets you over to Inquisition. It gets you over to more game and greater story. But the core game, tightly focused on Kirkwall, that shit is over. The story is over, right? Then you get to Inquisition. Remember, Inquisition drops in 2014. When that shit is over, it's over. And Trespasser doesn't come out until 2015. Trespasser is DLC. Trespasser gives you more Luvians. It gives you the whole thing about Solus. It gives you an actual end to the Inquisition in terms of what happens to the organization. It gives you all your teasers for the next game. So at this point, everyone should be fully on board with the core Veilguard game being tightly focused on the Veilguard. And like, I guess because, okay, I'm not being 100% fair to the concerns. Part of this concern is the keep. Oh, wait, I got a comment. Okay, I got a comment. I don't think we'll have enough cameos from previous companions. Hello, Autistic. Thank you for popping in. Unlike my live streams, like, I kind of want people to pop in and say hello, so I really, really appreciate that for popping in. And you are absolutely correct. There may not be, because like, look, me and Dorian, go way back. That's my dude. Like that's one of my favorite characters. And yeah, I am concerned that I'm not going to see some of my favorite characters immediately. However, now I'll be brief, but the Dragon Age Keep was probably one of the coolest things for a player to have in terms of like the replay value of their game. As good as Skyrim is, as good as any other competitor or other role playing games are, even for Mass Effect, they don't have the Mass Effect database where you can keep going in there and messing with stuff. Like the Keep is really unique, and I always thought it was one of the coolest things just ever to play with it without going into the game. And I honestly think that we may have hit this technological chasm that when we jumped over it for the Veilguard, the Keep couldn't jump with us. And so we couldn't bring the Keep over on a technological level. And my first hope was, okay, they're going to dump the Keep in the character creation and we'll get to hear Varric kind of break it all down while we make our dude. And that is a cool trade-off. And then, of course, the news was that we're going to get like three questions. And I desperately needed 4 questions because what upsets me is I can't pick the Divine, and like that hurts because that hurts. Like not being able to pick the Divine really hurts. Almost as much as thinking I'm going to lose Varric, but not being able to pick the Divine for me is the biggest punch in terms of the initial setup. With that being said, I honestly think that does not mean that if a year from now, on October 31st, 2025, the first major DLC drops, it also includes new stuff during character creation. And the only hope I have for that is this new major DLC from not StarCraft, Starfield looks like it does some of that. Like the new Starfield DLC apparently adds back in post level 36 content and then also some upfront stuff too. And so it does seem less likely because of like how traditional game mechanics work, but I don't think it's impossible that a DLC update might add some additional questions to the creation process, even if you don't make a new character. Let's say you download the DLC and it just quickly brings you back to the beginning of the game to go, by the way, did you hang out with Shale? You know what I mean? So like it's disappointing, I suppose, but I think DLC alone means it ain't over till it's over. And even if that's not their plan right now, I mean, they're listening to people, not me. I'm not trying to be heard. I'm one of those kids who was all by himself with his comics. I read the letter section, but didn't write letters. And the last thing I wanted was to have any effect on the outcome of my stories. I kind of wanted to be surprised. So as I got older, I was never a member of any fan clubs before the internet, and didn't start joining them when the internet happened. And so, like I don't know that I want to necessarily have anyone at BioWare's ear, but I'm counting on everyone else to kind of do what they do. But yeah, I honestly think that while it is disappointing that you don't get to pick everything, I honestly think that we're going to get some DLC that will bring those additional characters and stories hopefully back into the fold. Okay, let's see here. I got some minutes left on this video. Let's just get through this. Get that out. Speaking of DLC, we do know that such things exist. There seems to be a little bit of freaking out over how few choices we get during character creation. I'd humbly like to remind all probably going to
parties
make a
involved
video about how
that
hard
is
it
to be
was
expected
to
when you
get
think about DA
Chat
games from the
GPT
past.
to
Architecture
behave. Like this one was awesome.
As well as
Who are these guys?
You
like,
know,
none of those guys.
The one
the ChatGPT was like, here's some dudes. It was awesome.
Man, a lot happens for a game that doesn't really follow the central story. Weird.
Yeah. Okay. So someone again
and both
said to me or said in general that Dragon Age 2 like it doesn't follow the plot of the Blights, and I'm like, I just don't have that takeaway because Bartram and Varric, or Varric at least, is the star of the story. Your character is an NPC, and gosh, it is 2:14 and we have not gotten to the main topic of tonight, but we're gonna get to there. But I'm gonna talk about what I mean by this theory that Varric is the star of Dragon Age 2, and the Champion of Kirkwall is an NPC, and the villain is Anders. And it's because essentially, in short, Varric's adventure, what Varric does, just simply doesn't require you. They tell you that up front that you're not needed. And if you kind of notice, like, nothing happens to you one way or the other, the resources you gather, like, you don't have any agency throughout almost any of the game. You're rich because the game makes you rich. You can't fuck up how the outcomes go no matter what you decide to do. As long as you don't die, the outcomes are set in stone because it's not your story. Hell, Varric is literally telling the story. You know what I mean? And he could be an unreliable narrator. And at one point in the story, it's proven that he is because he runs him up with a crossbow and you find out that he didn't really do that shit. So, like, yeah, like Dragon Age 2, to me, I know all about the short turnaround time to develop it and all those real world factors that came into making that game. But at some point, I think someone's going to look at that game more like Halo 2 than Dragon Age 2 in terms of what got accomplished under those constraints. It's an incredible story, and I think that it's the way more stories should be told, especially if you're talking about driving a narrative. And gosh, this video is almost over, but I think because I was trying to explain my position on Dragon Age, and I think that that's really what I want to get across, I want to take this to transition to our topic instead of painfully watching this. Look at that hair. All right, let's see. Let's get rid of this. This vanity. All right, and where am I going? All right, I'm getting rid of the screen capture, right? Don't turn it off. There we go. And now I'm bringing up my slideshow again. All right. So our main topic, and most of my main topics for this show will be where I still got the bug to write something down and then said, I'm not going to publish this anywhere. And instead of just destroying it, I suppose I will try my best to talk about it. And this is a topic that, okay, I have bad opinions that are harmless. You know, I'm progressive, left-leaning, but sometimes I feel like I want to win and worry less, and people around me seem to want to be seen looking busy. And that's a very, 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 gotta be careful with takes like that, as far as that's what I want to say. But my concern sometimes is where I feel like I will have a valid response to something that, if I'm not careful in my wording, can be taken as toxic. So, with that being said, at some point in my life, I decided that my value as a consumer was like paramount, because consumers in general were giving up their strength and their purchasing power, and that was beginning a trend of reduced quality. And it's because of that drives my decision making when I make a purchase. And when it comes to video games, I feel like because it is an entertainment medium, sometimes we forget that you're still spending your money on it. It still has to be of a certain value, and it's your responsibility to make adults behave. And in that regard, uh, if a game doesn't have character creation, then I'm not buying it. And so I didn't buy the last maybe, I don't know, Star Wars games. The one with the redhead kid? Nope. It looked good. I played a few minutes of one of them because of Game Pass. Not bad, but no. I remember playing Jedi Knight, Jedi Exile, and at least in Jedi Knight, you could pick your dude and kind of find your dude in there, and then you hung out with Kyle Katarn, and that's how you told your story, and that's kind of what I'm getting to. I remember seeing the early stuff on Star Wars Outlaws, and my first thought was, this looks really, really good, but I don't see any character creation. Like, how am I gonna make my dude? And why that's so important is you have people who are like determined to only see one kind of person in anything. And the response to that determination is greater inclusion, greater diversity, you know, and I am all for greater inclusion and greater diversity. And I feel like character creation is the way to get there. Because while I don't want to force gamers to do anything, I think like the opposite is still a force. So if you know there's a bunch of douchey neckbeards out there who are gonna lose all their shit because the main character is a woman, then I get telling those guys to go fuck themselves. I get that. I get that. But you're still sort of doing what they're doing by saying, well, now you're going to have to do this instead. Like, what's good for the goose is good for the gander and all that kind of stuff. I don't know if that's progressive. I don't know if that we're going forward. But see, that position, while I think from one person's personal desire to play a game, that's a valid position. But often, way too often, that position is turned to be overly broy and overly toxic to the point where I don't know if that's really a worthwhile response because of the overall effect it has on who you're interacting with. You want to respect the people you're dealing with. And so it just became too politicized to say I want greater inclusion, so give me character creation, right? That's only a small part of it. I feel like that is such an incomplete argument that you're just handing some gross dude just something on a silver platter, and there's a better way to make this argument, and that's what I want to do. I think that the Sherlock Holmes approach to storytelling is what video game makers have been waiting for. And I'm a little disappointed that more games don't employ it. And if you don't know what I mean by that, Sherlock Holmes television series and movies are great. But if you've never read any of the actual books by Arthur Conan Doyle, you may not know that the narrator of Sherlock Holmes books is Watson. And Sherlock Holmes is a character that Watson is talking about. And you never go anywhere with Sherlock Holmes. You are always with Watson. And Sherlock Holmes talks to Watson and therefore talks to you. And if there's any possessive anything in a Sherlock Holmes book, I is Dr. Watson. I looked out the window and saw Sherlock climbing through a back, whatever. Like that's kind of how the stories are written, and because of that, you can get away with so many cool things for your main character because Sherlock can literally say, "All right, Watson, chill. I'll be back." And guess what? You and Watson are sitting here chilling until Sherlock gets back, and then he tells you what happened. That lets you like do certain things with your story because you're not stuck with the camera on the main character. I think that when you're trying to tell a story and you want to make sure that you get it right, that the Sherlock Holmes approach is the best way to do it because I have no desire to stifle anyone's contribution to anything. And I am rooting for anyone who gets the opportunity to create characters for Star Wars and add their character to all that stuff and would never want to stand in that person's way. But when I see this character, I'm like, I mean, I don't want to be the little animal, but don't you have a droid, homeboy? Can't I be the droid? Like, can't I make my dude who doesn't say anything, who doesn't have any dialogue options, to back her up and like, you know, like be her Doc Holliday or whatever? Like that way you get your story. You get all your cutscenes, you get to do it, and you can like have all the creative control over everything you want to do. She is the hero, the central focus, and I am but a droid, or I am but any of these random characters I can create to like see where the camera is. How come I'm not standing there behind her as, you know, her muscle? You know, I don't have to be the star of the story. And the other reason I feel like that, and you're seeing this is, I'm trying to get the slideshow to better keep up with the points I'm trying to make. In Star Wars, especially, there's a unique situation where the fan base has a canon connection to the lore that no other story I can think of can compare with. And what I mean by that is right there on screen, that's us. If you're a Star Wars fan of a certain type, you know what it means to say that we are Revan. Like that's all of us. And they made Revan canon recently, so technically speaking, there is a whole faction of the audience that can say that we took a deliberate direct hand in the lore of the story. They did that for us in like the early 2000s. It's been 20 years or whatever, right? It's kind of hard to go back from having that kind of impact on the lore to playing Mario Brothers again. And it's not that she's not cool, but it's like in 2024, let her be great. You don't need me to make her Samus Aran. You need me to pay money, you know? And I feel like with all the stuff you can do, I don't want to be her, you know? I want to be in the world that's built and feel like I can turn and take it all in, and then I gotta stop taking it all in to go follow my hero on her adventure, and I'm totally down with that. I get to, and that's why I put the picture of Rex, because like kind of what I want to be in Star Wars is Captain Rex. Captain Rex didn't have the Force, the homie did. If you play Battlefield, Battlefront 2, you know, you got Luke Skywalker or Anakin flipping around and stuff like that. That's all great, good and gravy. I'm having a blast as a stormtrooper. You know what I mean? So I think that where Ubisoft kind of let everyone down, for lack of a better term, is they forced an argument that didn't need to be. They could have literally had their cake and ate it too by making this game in its entirety and just giving me front row seats, because from everything they're showing, from all that Ubisoft is good at doing, the moment I see that they've realized the world to such a degree, I want to get out there. But if I have to play as her or the redhead kid with the cool lightsaber, I'm not out there. And it's only because we've already established that you can put me out there in the Star Wars universe and the universe don't implode. So it's like a really strange regression. And it picks a fight with neckbeards that doesn't need to be picked. Because I don't like being drafted into a group that's complaining about her looks or any of the other horse shit. I don't care about that. I think she's a totally fine character. I just want to be me as much as I can. And I think that Ubisoft maybe undervalued that desire. You know, and that's what it comes down to, like literal dollars and cents for me. It's not Ubisoft's fault. If you read the news, they're dealing with internal weirdness like a lot of other companies are. So it's not that. They're not villains. They're not making a mistake. They made a choice, and at the end of the day, my only beef with them is pre-orders, and that's not unique to them. So I hope that, again, just like the Veilguard, maybe there'll be some DLC next year, and I can make my own smuggler and go out there and run around Star Wars, because like the concept looks great, the idea of it is cool. I just would like to make my own dude and get a front row seat to whatever she's going to do as a character in Star Wars, because what we're seeing now in terms of quality and all of it is, this could be the star of the next great Disney Plus series. You know what I'm saying? Like, she totally could be. Like, so wouldn't it be awesome? You know what I mean? If you were that droid, you know, I'm just saying, like, I think that there is an argument to be made that this game could have zigged where it zagged. That is so much less toxic than she's not that cute, which blew my fucking mind that was what someone spent any time at all about talking about. Like, for real, there's all this stuff to discuss that's worthwhile. You're like, she ain't that cute? Like, come on, man. Like, for real. Okay. So, yeah, I was trying to make a video about that, and I don't know. Like, I feel like I'm making videos may not be where it's at for me, as far as like, I'm a one-man show, you know. It takes a long time to do all this shit. It does, but it's fun. It's fun. Speaking of like the show and maintenance, it's 2:30 in the morning. Now I'm off tomorrow, so there's that. But man, this week I started on Monday. This is episode 3, so I'm gonna do 4 and 5, and it'll be the first week of doing this. And there is a reason why Jimmy Kimmel and Seth Meyers and Jimmy Fallon and all those guys tape those episodes and those shows in the afternoon. There's a reason. Seth Meyers is knocked the fuck out right now. Sleep as hell right now. It has probably been for hours, because he did the show. It seems like it's nighttime, but it's daytime. It's like 3 in the afternoon or whatever, you know? Like, so my work schedule is not conducive to doing a lot of video editing during the day. I have an 8-hour shift, like an 8-hour, 40-hour a week job. So, like, I don't see getting off of work and then immediately turning back around, firing up all of this and making this show, and then spending hours and hours editing it. But I think that maybe, I don't know. I'm gonna continue to just sort of have fun
doing this in an effort to drum up some people to check out the charity event at the end of the month, and then let the cards fall where they may. And I don't know if everything goes well, then maybe after this month is over, if I still have the bandwidth to do this, I'm just not doing it every night. Maybe that's not reasonable and that's not necessary. Maybe every Friday night on my days off. So I'm not sitting here like at like 1 o'clock in the morning wiping the crust out of my face just to go back to bed in a couple hours. So yeah, we're at the hour and a half mark. I did have a little bit of silly stuff that I'm going to leave and not talk about because it's just silliness. And I'm going to thank Autistic for hopping on at the 2 o'clock hour and leaving a really cool comment. And I'm going to go ahead and feel like this episode went a little bit better than last night's episode, and so on and so forth. And maybe 6 years from now, I'll have like 20 viewers, and it'll be like, I'll have like a big old gray bushy beard. No, I'm kidding. I have to figure out what my sign off is. I want it to be like totally Forrest Gumpian, like I have to go to the bathroom